one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Lorenzo is going to read the quasi judicial.
Oh, you want to approve the minutes first, or?
So, following if you want to, I can follow the order of the agenda. Yes, the first thing is the approval of the minutes, item 3.
I've read the minutes and I make a motion to approve them.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, noted.
I'm a bit under the weather. I don't have much of a voice.
So
That's why I'm not with you today. So I will have both Gina and or Susanna read the disclosures into the record. Thank you all, and I apologize for my absence.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Let me continue with the order of the agenda. We have public comments. Welcome to the meeting, planning and zoning. If you're here for public comments, you can always approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. And I also welcome the participants that I see in my screen that are participating via online. Please just be reminded that if you want to speak, you have to press the star number 9, and the IT department help desk will allow you to speak one at a time. So good evening. I do see some individuals. If you want to speak now, or we could proceed with each item and we can have the public comments then. Okay? Okay. So then the next item in the agenda is item number 5, and I'm going to read for the record for both cases, 5A and 5B, the quasi-judicial public hearing instructions. Please be advised that the following items on the board's agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. All testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to be either cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the board to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization, and any persons presenting documents to the board should provide the town clerk with a minimum of 10 copies. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk and from the town attorney. So the first item is 5A, Zone 2024-0162, amending the official zoning map to rezone a property into 2 tracts, from GU to RU1. An ordinance of the Town of Miami Lakes, Florida, amending the official zoning map to rezone a 0.9 plus acre property divided into 2 tracts with folio numbers 32-2023-001-0473 and 32-2023-001-0474, located southeast of the intersection of Northwest 74th Avenue and proposed Northwest 144th Street, from the GU General Use District to the RU-1 Single Family Residential District, providing findings, providing for incorporation of recitals, providing for direction to the administrative official, providing for repeal of laws in conflict, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
And for the Planning Department, Susana Alonso, good evening, Chairman and board members. This item is coming before you. It's in a complicated matter. It's sort of like backtracking something.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just got notified from help desk that there is a participant that wants to provide public comments. I don't have a name for that individual. It's the one with an iPhone 211. You may speak now, or you may speak during the discussion of the item, but please let me know so that we can proceed.
Gina, I'm sorry to interrupt. But
Yes.
it would be proper, since we've already started the hearing, that the purpose person provide their public comments at the appropriate time. I believe that the schedule is the town goes first, then the applicant, then we can open it up for anyone from the public that wishes to provide testimony.
Okay, so please take note, the participants, we started the item 5A. You may speak later on during the discussion of the item.
Continuing what we were presenting the item, this item came about as a result of new ownership of a parcel located on the district south of the Wellness Way, where the hospitals are and the medical facilities are, Lakes Radiology, north of that FPNL location. That area of the town has never been platted. Most of it has always remained under GU zoning. There are some single-family homes that were erected there back in the 60s, a couple in the 80s, one or two in the 90s. But that area has never been properly developed in a proper way. It's always been sort of haphazard and not quite. So as a result, there is no roads, there's no street lights, there's no sidewalks, there's no, some of the streets have been dedicated but never have been taken over by the town. Some of them have never, most of them have never been paved. None of them have ever been paved. And as a result, we have a really patchwork of properties that are just a lot of property lines, but no actual fabric, right? No actual urban fabric that can be sort of relied upon in order to be able to develop the properties. One of these properties changed hands back last year in 2023. Mr. Panaji is on the screen with us. He's the purchaser of the property, and he found himself, him and his partner found themselves in the situation where they couldn't develop this property because it had never been zoned properly. So there were several attempts at zoning it in the past, but it was never done completely. Some of the conditions were never met, and they're still at the beginning of the process where there was many irregularities in the area. After going back and forth several times with the applicant to try and find a solution so that they can move forward and develop the property, Mr. Cobiella and I have, along with the applicant and the previous owner of the property next door, and this gets complicated too. He's not here today, so we'll try not to talk much about him, but they have agreed to provide a bond in order to be able to rezone, because the first thing that has to be done is rezoning. Right now, the property is still general use, which does not admit new development without rezoning first. And in order to rezone, though, the area has to meet the conditions of the new zoning, which would be residential single family. That means that the road has to be constructed, signalization, sidewalks, drainage, street lights, ideally sewage. There is no sewage in the area either. The applicant seems to have some sort of approval from the county that maybe they would be allowed to use a septic system. Most of the homes in that area are on septic tanks. Obviously, this is not an ideal situation, nor would we like to add new septic systems to the town. So, finding a way to add sewage to this area would be also ideal. Water, I think there is water Mr. Panaji, we're not doing well, right? We're not doing well water, correct?
Yes, ma'am, correct.
Yes.
There is access to the
Yes,
water.
sorry.
I also want to take note that whoever is participating and providing testimony tonight, I need to swear them in. I know, Mr. Panayi, we can see you very well, and welcome to the meeting, but I believe you're going to be speaking, so please, anyone, and we can do the two items at the same time. If you're going to provide testimony, please raise your right hand. And Mr. Panayi, I need to see you, there we go. Do you swear to say the truth and only the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. Sufyan Naji probably needs to unmute himself, but he will also be speaking in testimony.
Okay, Sufyan is going to
Can't
be.
hear him.
I'm so sorry. I know you said something, Mr. Panayi, but we couldn't hear you. What is it?
Oh, Sufyan Naji is also on the call.
Mr. Naji,
Ask him
yes.
maybe to unmute. Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Naji, and if you could please raise your right hand, I'll swear you in. I didn't see you, and I need to see you. There we go. Thank you. Do you swear? Yes, just raise your right hand. Do you swear to say the truth and only the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Naji.
So what you have in front of you today is the rezoning of the applicant's property and the property right next door, which is the one that is adjacent to the only existing road in the area, which is 74th Avenue. The result of this rezoning and the conditions that you have in front of you, which were carefully put together in order to accomplish the redevelopment of at least these two properties, because obviously we can't force upon this property owner the redevelopment of the entire area, because that would be inappropriate. So that's what you have in front of you. I know it's complex, so I know you have 300 questions, and I'm happy to answer them one at a time. And Mr. Naji and Mr. Panaji are also available for questions. Miss,
Through the chair.
I want to interrupt really quickly and just remind the board again, so you understand your position today. Your position today is not making an approval or denial. That's in the hands of the council. Your obligations today are as the local planning agency.
Lorenzo, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but really, we are having an extremely hard time hearing you and understanding you. And we understand that you're sick, but if you can articulate just a little bit louder, because the board members we cannot hear you.
Okay, I'll do my best. Can you hear me a little bit better?
No, and I'm gonna right now ask help desk IT, please. Can you I don't know, try to improve the audio or raise? It's not the microphones because he's in his office, but if you can try to improve the quality. We know he's upstairs, but we cannot hear him. We cannot understand him. If IT Diego, if you could please raise the speakers in order for us to be able to understand Mr. The attorney, Deputy Town Attorney. Lorenzo, try again. Oh, the Deputy Town Attorney wants me to share with you all the following statement for you all to please understand that you're not approving anything tonight. You're only acting in your LPR capacity. So he's insisting that, he's very sorry that he cannot articulate better right now. He has very little voice, but that you're acting in your LPA capacity. You're not approving anything. Thank you.
Okay, so just for the new ones that Mr. Sanchez, that has never done this before. One of the functions of the Planning and Zoning Board is advisory to the council in matters that pertain to amendments of the Land Development Code. The Land Development Code includes the zoning map, which is what this is an amendment to, and therefore, one of your jobs as the Planning Board is to advise the council on how to pass ordinances and amendments to the Land Development Code. And that's what you're doing today. So all your suggestions on this subject will be passed on to the council in the form of the second hearing as part of the memo and or part of the ordinance changes to the second reading. And will be communicated to the town council. Yes.
Through the chair, I want to ask a question about the bond. Is the bond inclusive of all the services, to take care of all the services for those two particular lots that will be at one time done, sewer, water? Will that include those services? Because we really should have sewers there.
Correct, but not the sewer portion. The sewer portion is going to be trickier because to bring sewer systems to that neighborhood is quite costly. So we are looking into potentially finding grant funding for the entire area to be able to be connected to sewer. There is a few, and we have our new grants manager, Olivia, who's just been named grants.
Okay.
But do they
She's
have,
looking
do they
into
have,
finding, yes, she's looking into finding new grant.
They have sewers at the commercial end.
Correct, all the way to Lakes Radiology.
Right, so they would have to connect to there.
To that one, yes. But for Lakes Radiology to get the sewer system, it was quite a bit of money because they had to bring it in from the one over. So this is literally an extension of the line.
but does the lift station that they have there now, does it have the capacity to handle the additional flow?
We don't know. These are unknowns at this
And
point.
You mentioned that they have been in contact with the county and they are.
Septic tank. The county has provided, and Mr. Panaji, if you would to like to chime in on that, they have a tentative approval by the county that potentially they could have a septic tank. It seems like some of the county requirements for septic tanks changed last year, and there were some new systems that are coming online that seem to be a little more efficient and that are better at what has usually been our concern, which is the water table, right?
Mhm.
Like septic tanks under the water table, no good. But it seems like there's some safer systems now that are more protective of the water table, and that's what maybe they would be proposing. And obviously, we would be watching out for that. Correct.
And how about the water issue?
Water, Mr. Panaji, am I correct that you do have water access?
Yes, we did we got the maps and we were able to see the water lines.
So they do have water lines. Again, the extent of the work that would need to be done in the area is paving the roads, adding sidewalks, street lights, street trees, and drainage.
Drainage.
Is what has not been done at all.
And this would be just for the two lots only.
Correct. At this point, yes. Obviously, we are also separately from this issue, because obviously you cannot burden the one property with, right? But we are looking into a possible way to redevelop the entire area and add streets and I hate that Lorenzo is sick and can't explain it, so I'm gonna do my best, but there is a Florida statute that allows the municipality to sort of impose sort of a neighborhood services district on an area. They do have to have some buy-in into it, so they do have to vote into it. But we are able to do the work for them, and then they can get they can pay for it retroactively through their property taxes. Through our taxation systems, yes.
Right.
So Lorenzo's looking into that. I'm paraphrasing what he would be telling you if he was
I have a couple questions. So The improvements that I see, it's only on 154th. How about 74th Avenue getting there? That's not gonna be improved?
74th is in pretty good shape getting there. 74th was sort of kind of improved all the way to 145th. Again, the extent to which is properly done, but 74th was taken over by the town at some point, or the county in reality, right? It was before incorporation, but it was deeded to the county and it was taken over by the county in whatever shape it's in. The difference between the other streets that you see, if you're looking on the county map or in Google Maps, you see 144th, you see 145th, and you see 143rd. None of those are actual streets that were ever taken over by either the county or the town.
They weren't dedicated.
They were sort of kind of dedicated once.
Yeah, because the property line seems to indicate
Right.
that there was a dedication done.
Well, but not a proper dedication, because, again, the procedures, just so you know, the procedure by which this lot was even split was a variance process, which doesn't even make any sense, because that
When was
should have
the-
been a
because
plat.
The way to get a separate folio now requires approval by the zoning department of the municipality. Before, you could just go in a couple of surveys and you get a separation of folio,
Yeah,
but no longer. That's
correct,
been changed for several years.
yes.
So I guess at some point, the town did authorize the division of
It
that
was done
folio?
before the town incorporated. It was in 1997 when the.
That folio was created. Yeah, back then, there was no need to go to zoning. You could just go with 2 separate folios, 2 separate surveys, and the property appraiser's office would issue you a folio number.
Yeah, so
Because the other thing that I noticed is that the property underneath recently sold, and I'm sure we're gonna be in the same boat
that's the fear that
shortly
we have.
thereafter.
That this is only the first of several of these there's another one in foreclosure currently, so that should be changing ownership shortly as
It's already
well.
changed ownership.
Yeah, no, yeah, the one that just got sold, and then there's another one that is also in on the foreclosure program.
Right.
So and then there's a couple of elderly property owners that, also may change ownership through different venues. It's just, most of these owners have owned these properties for a very long time, and that has been the saving grace why we have not had to deal with this till now, because it's been pretty stable ownership in the area. That's obviously not a forever thing. I do see Mr. Lafont in the crowd, so maybe we wanna sign him in, because he might probably have some opinions.
If you want to speak tonight, and welcome for joining the meeting, as always, just raise your right hand. Do you swear to say the truth and only the truth, so help you God? Welcome to the meeting. And before we continue, we always do this at the beginning. I just wanted to state for the record that all the board members have provided me with their ex parte communications, and they have disclosed that they have had no communication whatsoever with the applicants. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
And through the chair, I do have a question. With regards to Northwest 77th Avenue, I see that it's already asphalted, but it doesn't have drainage. If I understand that correctly, it ends at Lakes Radiology. Would the residents of Northwest 144th, the bond would also cover drainage for Northwest 77th Avenue, or only for Northwest 144th?
Not at this time. We would probably look into
The septic tank.
that as part of the overall area, not necessarily. Again, these are things that we don't necessarily know what's gonna happen until we start drawing and designing what needs to be done. There's a lot of unknowns.
Right.
It has been surveyed properly. We're sort of trying to just find a way for, a way forward for them. So
Okay.
that we're not just stuck and not giving them some sort of,
Okay.
yeah, so yeah, many of those will be questions to be asked when proper surveys are done and proper heights, elevations, all unknown
Okay.
at this point.
Do we have a future land use for this area? Because I know currently it's GU, but what would be if we look at
No, I didn't see one.
Fortunately, the comp plan is already for low-density residential. So fortunately, we don't have to touch that one. It was already low-density. Now,
No, it's just
obviously, the
something to
range of
consider.
low-density residential is not just single-family. There's townhouses are low-density resident. There's a lot more birth than just RU1. But
So right now, that area is not, it's low density?
it
Is
is,
a future land use map?
in the future land use map, is low-density residential. Correct.
Because that property basically abuts two different streets, 154, 144 and 143rd. So is it a condition that only one home can be on each one of these two lots?
Correct. That's one of the conditions that is being placed on this rezoning. If you see condition number number 3, there shall be no further division or of either of the lots rezoned via this ordinance.
So we're gonna go on like an RU1
Correct.
zoning, even though the future land
Correct.
use map is.
And for that purpose, these lots are oversized.
Yeah.
So they are they're not anywhere near tight for RU1.
I'm just thinking ahead for the bigger piece in the bottom when they come in. What are they gonna
Variances?
request?
Yeah.
They could request townhouses.
And there's only one access road into that area. It's not, this is the problem. Not for this particular one, I'm just thinking ahead for the next one. I'm
Yep.
perfectly fine with recommending moving forward with this with one lot, one home per lot. I have no problem with that.
Are we gonna hear from the owners talk?
Would you, Mr. Lafont or Mr. Benaggi and Mr. Benaggi? Would you like to say something? You're welcome to, sir. Please.
I will let. Oh, hi.
Please
Right
just
here.
approach the podium, Mr. Lafont, if you want to provide public comments so that it's recorded.
I wasn't prepared to say anything, but, we're cooperating with the city, is what we're trying to do, so that the gentleman can build their house. I could tell you, for the most part, all of us are happy with our septic tanks. There's no reason for us to have sewer, so that would be an expense that, I'm a little bit concerned about. If you have to bring sewer all the way from Lakes Radiology, or that other option that you talked about from across that's gonna cost a lot of money that we'll have to fork out eventually. So, if that would be okay, if there's some kind of procedure that can be implemented, a variance, an exemption, I don't know, where we could stay with our septic tanks. It'll also make things easier, and I think even the other neighbors more malleable to accepting an assessment, which is gonna be coming our way. Because, at the end of the day, everybody has to agree to let you do this, because I've been there 22 years, the others have been over 40 years. I don't know that they're gonna be very happy that they're gonna have to pay all this money. So, but, we want to comply, we wanna make sure that we meet the requirements of the town and all that, but,
Just so that I believe the issue of whether you need sewer or something like that, it's really beyond even the town's prerogative. I think that's state, county, and state of Florida, just so that you know.
It's a square footage. It's a square footage thing. It needs a certain amount of land.
So even if we say you can or can't, it's irrelevant.
doesn't matter.
There's certain things that we just have no jurisdiction over this, and sewer is definitely one of those that we have no
see.
jurisdiction over that. So I just want to fully, disclose that from our perspective.
I
Other
mean,
than that-
that we meet the requirements
Yeah.
of the size of the lot
Right.
to have a septic tank.
Right.
That I know for a fact. Beyond that, I couldn't say. But,
Thank you.
yeah, I'm glad you clarified me
I just
on
thought
that.
you, I don't want to promise
Sounds
something that
worrisome.
I can't do anything.
But, yeah,
Yeah, if they develop the rest of the property to townhouses, it'll force everybody to go to sewer.
right. Well, hopefully that's not gonna happen. We like it the way it is.
I
You know.
do have to, and now Mr. Lafont is here. In 2007, the prior action where rezoning of these properties was first attempted. Mr. LaFont had agreed to do a lot of these things at the time in 2007, and because they weren't done, this is how we are today where we are. So these are things that have been sort of backtracked all the way to back then, and I just need to put that into the record because, they should have been done back then.
So there were requirements that were met.
There were requirements there were conditions of the 1983 action. There were requirements of the 1990, for which Mr. LaFont was not present. There were requirements of a different 1997 action for which Mr. LaFont was not present. But there was also the requirements of the 2007 action for which Mr. LaFont was present. So this is a long string of actions by several boards, that Miami-Dade County, the town council, and the planning and zoning board, and many iterations of actions on these two properties. We're just trying to get it right once and for all, and just kind of move forward into the future
In a fair manner.
in a fair
Can I
way.
ask
Correct.
a question? So then the bond will be created so that the actions are taken and the improvements are done then?
Correct.
That's the reason for the bond?
Correct. And that at least these two properties we have under control. Should we find a way to redo the entire area, either through grants, through the section 170 of the, I'm probably saying it wrong, but the Florida statute 170 that allows the neighborhood service district to be created, or through any other mechanism, we can release the bond and let them go on the merry way and join whatever other action the rest of the neighbors are going through. But this is just a way to at least ensure that we're not just rezoning this and making a non-conforming situation. And I know we talk about non-conforming situations and how do we not make them worse, right? This adding another single-family home to this area would make a non-conforming area
Worse.
even more non-conforming than it already is. So that is not something that we can sort of bless.
So how much time do they have to do the roads and everything? Because, I mean, if you're saying to the bond and then they can have it returned to them and you set up the neighborhood area to do all of it, how much time do they have to actually do the work if that doesn't happen?
In the case of a bond, the work would actually be done by the city. So the town would use our own consultants and our own public works department
So
to actually carry out the work. It would just be paid either through the bond or through whatever other mechanism we figure out that they can all pay into. And obviously, we would allow Mr. Nagy and Mr. Panaji to build their home, because we would already have secured the funding for the project, right?
Okay, so they would be able
Right.
to build the home.
They would be able to build a home. We would not be building a brand-new road and then destroying it with his excavators, because he would be obviously coming in and out of there. So we would wait for him to finish his home and then build the road, because that makes more sense, right? But we would take advantage of the time to, design, engineer, and.
Put it out for bids.
Right, and put it out for bid, yeah.
They would only be responsible for 144 up to those two lots, though, not all the way
Correct.
to the end of the street.
Correct, not at the end of the street. It's correct. There is a third lot in there, very wisely you see, who is not in this conversation. Yes,
Because I don't think they have even dedicated their portion to 144.
they have not.
So I want to put a motion on the floor to approve it with the exception of the drainage, to allow them to have,
We have to close the hearing first.
my mistake.
Chaos today.
Does the other owner want to speak?
Mr. Nagy, if you would like to say anything, you and Mr. Panaji, you're welcome. Mr. Panaji has his
Are you
hand
done with
raised.
me?
Oh, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you
Yes, we
now.
hear you.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, as far as the drainage goes, I just want to clarify that the current septic tank systems have been advanced significantly, and it is quite compatible. And the compatibility of the water levels, I think, for the local area, We are aware that the area, it's an AE flood zone, and the septic system, which is the CFTS, which we were advised we will be using for the property, it is compatible to and safe for that matter. As far as the Chapter 4, Section 4142 for the Miami Lakes City Code for the minimum requirements for a septic tank, our property actually meets the standards as far as the size goes, and it's actually beyond even the standards to meet the requirements for a new subdivision, according to the code from 2022, which allows the old subdivision to be able to build a septic tank.
I believe he's finished.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Najee, we heard you. Thank you.
Maybe you want to close the
Yeah.
public hearing?
Okay, we're gonna close the discussion.
So I'm gonna go ahead and put in a motion to approve the agenda item with the exception of the drainage for the bond, so that they're allowed to do their septic tanks, because, you know, with reference to the question I had before, to bring the drain from Lakes Radiology all the way down 77th to 144th, it's gonna be a very heavy expense.
Just for clarity's sake, the drainage that we discuss in this particular item right now is not the drainage of the sewer system of the home, it is the drainage of the road. So
There's drainage for the
there's-
properties, not the
Right,
sewer.
we need
Okay.
stormwater system.
Drain.
So when it rains, things don't get flooded. And
Okay.
that's the drainage that we're discussing at this point, where whether or not they go on a septic tank is a completely different discussion for another day and time.
Okay,
At this point, the only thing we're concerned with is, and again, if the entire area goes onto a sewage system for the homes, not for the stormwater, which is a separate system,
right.
but for the homes, then that would be a separate item that we would not be making them incur. We would be finding some sort of grant funding to be able to bring everybody into some sort of sewage system.
Then I amend my motion to be approved with at the recommendation as listed, with all of the conditions that are listed on the agenda.
I'll second that motion.
You have some discussion, boss? You have to ask us if we want to do discussion.
Do we wanna discuss it?
Right. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. He has, that was a point that he
I
has
think
to
what
ask as the
we're
chair.
doing is basically recommending approval for the town council to actually approve. From what I understood, this
Right.
is not
Mhm.
one of those things that we have a
Correct.
final say, we just recommend approval.
Yep.
Correct.
The town
You're
council could still do whatever they
recommending
want.
approval, you're recommending that
Exactly.
the town council approve the item
Right.
on second reading.
Right.
I
And-
just want to
and at
make
this
clear
time-
that that's our only, I guess jurisdiction the only thing we could do right now with this item is recommend the town council to approve, and that was the motion, which I seconded, to recommend to the town council to approve this ordinance, thereby allowing you to build the home. I just want to clarify that.
Correct, and you do have the prerogative to discuss the conditions and to add or subtract from the conditions.
The only thing I would like to see is that the town council keep in mind that the ability to do R1 there, and to have it in mind that that can be done by approving this. We can end up with a bad situation there if they put in townhouses on the property that have that one property that's being discussed.
Correct.
That's large enough to do townhouses.
Correct, so that's where the second part of all this comes in, is
Right,
that's
that
right, where we start working and looking to the entire area as a whole,
As a whole.
and looking at, and it should, hopefully in the new year, that's where we're going. In the 2025 year, we would be looking at rezoning the entire area to bring a little bit of stability to the area and just to have some, planning done, that we can actually,
Added recommendation to the council,
that they consider rezoning the entire,
consider rezoning the entire area and look at the sewage problem that will exist there as they try to put it on the townhouses. And that property says it would be available for R1.
Okay. No further discussion?
We're voting the motion?
So the motion is from Board Member Sanchez, which was seconded by Board Member Julia. Motion to approve item 5A as per staff's recommendation. And it was further explained that they're recommending, the Planning and Zoning Board is recommending approval for the Town Council to approve this item and the ordinance in second reading. That is the motion. So we're ready to do the roll call. Board Member Sanchez.
Yes.
Board Member Julia.
Yes.
Board Member De La Sierra.
Yes.
Chairman Leoncio.
Yes.
The ordinance and item 5A passes.
You gotta call the next item. It's on page 73.
Okay, next item on the agenda, it's VAR H2924 9311 through VAR H 2024 0329.
2-6.
I'm sorry, 26.
So
Request the town to speak.
Lorenzo, I know you're listening, and we're starting the item 5B. I just want to make sure, do you want me to read the order of the Planning and Zoning for this item?
Can you hear me a little bit better? Gina?
Yes, we do, actually.
Okay. Yeah, the order is, first of all, make sure that everyone has been sworn in that is going to be giving testimony. Everyone that is there from the Planning and Zoning Board, please, if you have any ex-parte communication, please disclose that before the hearing begins. The way that it should proceed is the town should give its presentation first, then allow the applicant to give its presentation. Then if there's any public testimony, for that to be provided. Once all of that has closed, the board should then close the public meeting, and then it can entertain a motion and discussion. If at any time they wish to have additional or ask additional questions of the applicant and or of staff, they can go ahead and reopen the public hearing portion of the meeting.
So following the instructions given by the deputy town attorney, again, I state for the record that the board members did disclose their ex parte communications. They all stated in writing that they have not had any communications with the applicants. And as well, earlier this evening, I swore in all the applicants that are gonna be providing testimony. So I just wanted to state that for the record.
And for the planning department, Susana Alonso again. I'm entering here the staff report into the record. I'm gonna allow the applicant to make their presentation. Staff is recommending approval as presented, but I'm gonna let them present their application, and I'll be here for questions.
There we go. Good evening, Melissa Tapinas. Law office is at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard, Miami. I'm here representing GT Homes USA. I'm joined by Autumn Sarrow with ownership, my colleague Benjamin Sherry, as well as landscape architects Devin Sejas and Sephora Chavarria, as well as our civil environmental engineer Oscar Robina. Together, we're here to respectfully request your approval of a variance to construct a continuous bulkhead across lots 2 through 16, 15 total lots at the new Palma del Lago project, consistent with the approved council's site plan, as well as consistent with your staff recommendation. I do have a presentation. I think sometimes pictures are worth more than 1,000 words, although I'm not one shy of words. So if we can put up our presentation, that might be helpful. Thank you. All right, excellent. So this is the property that we're going to be speaking about today. It's over 16 acres of land. It is an enclave located at the southeast corner of Northwest 162nd Street and Northwest 87th Avenue. Back in 2008, the town council approved the Dunhill Cove First Edition subdivision, as well as the Dunhill Isle plat. It was recorded in 2008, and together it consists of 37 lots. They vary in size between 7,700 square feet and 18,400 square feet. This is the site plan as it was approved by the town council back in 2023. And here you can see a rendering of what the project would look like. It's 37 lots, estate-style residences, 5 different home models, 10 distinct floor plans with 4 custom-built homes, lush landscaping, lakefront for all lots except Lot 1. We also have a dog park and a nice little idyllic bridge that is part of the proposal. So why we're all here today is because due to the passage of time between the original subdivision of the land back in 2008 to the present, what's happened is that the lots are significantly smaller due to erosion as they were originally platted. The plat provides for the top of bank and the different regulations as it relates to each lot, which have changed. So we're here to basically legalize what is our proposed civil engineering in order to address the issue. And the issue, to be very clear, was the presence of unique sandy soils that can, of course, degrade over time due to runoff down the existing slopes. And that's what really compromised the soil stability and led to the formation of rills, causing this kind of concentrated runoff. So what we're proposing to do is the actual request a variance to allow for this bulkhead to run parallel to the water's edge and modify that top of slope. So this is what a cross-section of the area looks like. And you can see what the top of bank was originally and what we're proposing to do specifically. And I know it's kind of small on your screen, so I'll take you from left to right, where what we're proposing is in green is what we're actually proposing to infill the land. So we're proposing a bulkhead at the water's edge, and you can see what the current conditions are in the hatch. And you can see that if we allow the existing conditions to continue, there simply wouldn't be enough actual land to build not only the proposed homes, but also what we all expect in living in beautiful Miami Lakes, which includes, paradise in your backyard, right? So a nice pool, a nice area to enjoy, and that simply would not be possible with the current condition due to engineering. So what we are proposing to do is to provide a bulkhead. And this bulkhead is intended to stabilize the embankment, which, as I mentioned, the soil is not of the condition that we think will be resilient enough. We also want to restore the lost lot area to comply with the plat, as well as the town code, so that we comply with lot area, setbacks, and all that kind of fun stuff. We also want to make sure that maintenance for these homeowners in the future makes sense. So for example, if you're providing a slope, which could be nice and sodded, but the soil underneath is not worthy of that kind of stabilization, what we see is that for the homeowners association to maintain that is basically an unnecessary disaster that we want to mitigate. It also improves water quality. The lack of soil erosion and continuous soil erosion throughout additional storm events will be mitigated. We also want to ensure resiliency, not only to prevent this future erosion, but also soil and water degradation throughout the town. And these water bodies are all connected underground. And obviously, another big concern is the idea of insurance cost, right? We know that there's an issue. We have the technology and engineering available to mitigate the issue. We want to do that and obviously avoid future residents of the town needing to pay things that they don't need to in insurance. So we understand that this is a lot-by-lot variance. I don't want to bore you with information, but we are prepared to answer any questions that you may have. I do have what it looks like lot by lot so that you understand why we need this. And because of the structural integrity of the bulkhead, we need to do the bulkhead on all these 15 lots abutting 162nd. So we'll start with lot 2, and you can see that this is the westernmost lot on 162nd. And to give you an idea of what that says, and I know it's a little small, but basically the top of bank erosion inland is 11 feet. That's how much land has been lost here. What we're proposing to fill is 1,435 feet, which is 14.7% of the lot. And that's actually not the lot that's in the worst condition. I'll take it to, and you can see here the top of bank erosion is 14 for lot 4, 14 feet for lot 5. In lot 6, I understand that this is one of the most complicated lots where we have 15 feet of erosion, which is of course significant to a 9750 square foot lot, and that's almost 17% of the lot area. So these issues are significant, and again, we're very grateful that engineering exists to allow for this kind of bulkhead condition. With that said, we have each one of these lots that we can go one by one and answer any questions that you may have. I pointed out the worst one, and there's also this lot 12, which is actually 20% of the lot is now waterward. So this is what we believe is a wonderful result to what could be a very problematic issue in the future that we're hoping to avoid. As your staff analysis provides, we satisfy the practical difficulty criteria. We are our own adjoining property owners. We're compatible with the development patterns in the town. There are bulkheads, especially in the lake houses. We believe that this preserves the essential character of the neighborhood, especially with all the improvements in the town dealing with stormwater resiliency. We believe that this is substantial justice be done by the approval of this. There's no detriment to our adjoining properties. These are unique circumstances that are costly to address, but we think that it is definitely worthwhile for this incredible new subdivision that we know that there has a lot of interest within the town. So our entire team is available for any questions that you may have. We want to thank Ms. Alonso and your town staff. They've been very helpful throughout this process, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
I have a question through the chair. With regards to the bulkhead, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory.
Yep.
Right now in the town of Miami-Lakes, we have a canal on the north side, just south of 170th Street, and the bulkhead that was created there on the canal because that was eroding to protect from anything else eroding. That bulkhead has been deteriorating over time.
Right.
So it wasn't highest and best used. It wasn't. So what type of bulkhead is going to be used to make sure that it has highest and best use and will last for a long time and won't fall back on the residents that will eventually be living in these homes?
Absolutely. So we're actually working with providers of specific product specifications. We have Oscar here. He can answer any questions that you may have. But that goes to an issue that I wanted to raise regarding condition number 3 that specifically provides, and this is in your staff analysis, additional landscaping as approved by the planning and zoning staff. Particularly, the bulkhead system shall be planted with native plants materials as per manufacturer's instructions, and plantings shall be maintained and replaced as needed. So we're not asking for a modification, and this will go into what Oscar will tell you, that we are looking at the most advanced systems with the most, obviously, manufacturer warranty. We were originally proposing a GeoWeb. Now what we're proposing is a riprap system that does have the opportunity to have some vegetation screening, but I'll turn that over to Oscar for more details.
Yeah, I have a question through the chair. How would you tie back, which is basically the question he's asking, how are you going to tie back or maintain the riprap there? Because you either have to put in piling or you have to tie it back. Otherwise, you're going to lose again.
So, Mr. De La Sierra, you are very correct on everything you're saying. So initially, let me start with, we're in the midst of like pulling permits at this point for this project for construction of some of the homes, and we've been kind of scrambling with getting this together in front of you. And initially, when we spoke with the town, the same concerns that Mr. Sanchez brought up were mentioned to us. And from what I understood from Public Works, not only in the town, but also in the city of Opa-locka that's had similar issues with this GeoWeb, is that the maintenance crews from the county have actually been damaging this system. And actually, this was shared with the Public Works Director here, that Opa-locka is in the midst of putting together some sort of action against the county for damaging this system, and they're aware of it in the town. But since we started, we thought this was going to be a good option because the maintenance on this wouldn't be similar to a canal, where you're familiar with the boats that basically lift up and are taking the weeds out. Now, after interviewing a handful of the contractors that are involved with this construction, we're backpedaling on that idea. And this may not be the best option for a resident and to have a 20, 30-year lifespan. We're working back and forth at this point with a structural engineer to see whether or not we're going to use a concrete style bulkhead, or if we're going to do a sheet piling with a cap option. So right now, that's the options that we're looking at. I did see a design already for a retaining wall, and they're waiting on Geotech to confirm placement, depth, and those kind of items.
But we're working back and forth, so the GeoWeb is not going to be the option that is constructed.
Okay,
So-
if you do the sheet piling, that's definitely gonna be staying there and holding until it rusts away.
Oh, I agree. No,
They-
it'll be
they rust away.
aluminum,
I
which
see
is
'em rust-
great.
I see them rust away all the time.
Yeah.
If you do the concrete, then you'll have to drive some type of piling to hold it, and you'll need tiebacks to hold that whole system back.
So that's why I think that the sheet piling was being looked at separately. Yeah, because we can't put tiebacks, what are we going to tie it back into the pool? That's not going to work.
Yeah, you don't tie it back into the pool, you
Of
tie it
course
back-
not, sir.
You tie it back into the ground beneath the pool.
So,
The
but
tiebacks, you can't
the
tie back into
depth,
the pool.
I understand, sir. I was making a joke.
Oh, okay.
I apologize that it wasn't that clear. I thought me laughing after the fact was.
I thought it was a serious matter.
Oh no. I'm not a structural engineer, to be honest, and I don't want to represent one even on TV.
That we're attending to, I didn't realize that.
No, so we are looking at alternate options on that, and as Melissa mentioned, that one condition number 3 would be easy to address with regards to either one of these two options, as we would still have to have some, I guess, land
So-
on the water side of it.
Here's a question. You have
Please, sir.
15 residences here. How many feet of wall are you gonna put in there? 1,500, 1,600 linear
The
feet?
full, well,
The full length?
as you know,
The full length, right?
we can't. We have to
So
go the
that's a
full
big
length and
structure
tie
that
it
has to be
back.
held back.
It has to be tied back at the ends in order
And
to
it has be
mitigate any
tied
sort of
back in the
damage.
middle or collapse. You
And
would
if we
just-
if we do have a sheet piling system, I think that we can mitigate that aspect of it, as what I understood in the last meeting I attended. So I believe it may be going towards a sheet piling, but it will be engineered and signed and sealed by a Florida state of Florida registered professional engineer. So the design will meet requirements.
Through the chair, I have one more question. Has the effects of blasting in the area been taken into consideration for the life of the bulkhead?
I can attest to that. And
That'll be part of the structural engineering calculations read by the Public Works Director here at the town.
Okay.
Through the chair, I have another question. So part of this is what goes from whatever retaining wall you're gonna do back onto the resident. Normally though, from wherever the retaining wall, which would be, I guess, the end of the person's lot, into the water, because the water there belongs
So
to
the,
who?
the water, the lake itself, there's, most of the lake is owned by the adjacent property
It was
owner,
still owned by
but,
the Lowell Dunn for the,
correct, but the actual, each lot has its own water as well, as part of the platted lot. So we're not filling the entire lot. We're still gonna, just as the plat provides for, that each owner will have its waterfront as well, its actual water.
and from the end of the lot, wherever this retaining wall is gonna be built, or whatever is gonna be built, the bulkhead, doesn't the code require a certain level of a slope onto the waterway?
Yes,
Correct.
well, it doesn't,
Hence the variance.
yes,
Huh?
it
This is-
allows,
That's
the
exactly why they're here. They were going to be allowed to rebuild their type of slope and maintain the slope as required per the plat.
the plat.
But because the soil was not stable enough to hold that slope once rebuilt, because it has eroded in barely 20 years, that's why they're proposing a different method.
So when you get
The
to-
original intention was to
The
rebuild.
town allows 1 foot. You're gonna do riprap, 1 foot in the rear yard to retain the
Right.
soil, which is what I have in my lake.
Right.
1 foot to retain the soil.
Because my concern is just making sure that it's brought up is, I guess, the depth of the water. I mean, normally there's a certain slope beyond, like I live on a lake too, and my end of the lot, but I live in a gated community where the lake belongs to the community, and so
Right.
we have a slope, and then into the water, there's another slope, and it has to go at a certain level. Here, with what is being proposed, so that I understand, the depth of the water at the end of this, basically this is gonna be on the water and it's gonna go straight down like a canal kind of thing.
I believe it's
Um,
gonna go
it
to
not-
the existing water's edge.
Correct.
They've had some erosion, but they're gonna go to the existing water's edge and build up, from what I understand.
That's
6
correct.
feet, and then infill all the way.
Right, but what I'm saying is the depth of the water beyond,
Beyond is what it is now.
which is, does anybody know?
It didn't say in the drawing.
No, it's not that deep. As my teenager says, it's not that deep.
No, I
No, it is irregular. As the letter I submitted stated, while we were removing the vegetative species that had grown in that ledge, some of that was damaged. And it's no longer what we anticipated it would be, and that's why we're here. So the material's basically sloughing off into the lake when we're trying to get that slope.
So I think I think the issue is
basically
safety.
my concern is more of a safety
Is safety.
thing. So at the end, I'm
so we're
assuming
gonna
you're
have
gonna
a
do like a
fence. We're gonna
fence,
have a fence,
But
correct?
you're gonna do a pool, so you're gonna have to do a fence.
Correct, exactly.
Because
So
my
that's,
concern is, like now, somebody goes into my lake, they could go about 6 feet into the actual water and they're still
right, walking
okay.
around.
Then
Right.
afterwards, it
Here,
drops off.
we're going to have a fence to go along with the pools and landscaping, so that each lot will have that. Yep.
And the maintenance of that lake, though, is not gonna be part of the association.
Correct, it's
That'll
private.
be Lowell Dunn. with
Correct.
the Indian thing.
Yes, Madden's hammock.
Yeah.
Through the chair, Suzanne, is there an existing tie line there? Because you can't build a fence past the tie line.
Right, so they're rebuilding the tapo slope. The tie line or tapo slope, which remember that the tapo slope or the tie line, and this is for Mr. Sanchez's benefit, because we have done many a pool
Yes.
beyond the tie line.
We love our
We're
pools in the
experts
town.
at tie lines.
Right.
The tie line is an imaginary line that exists at the point where the property slopes into the lake. So that point where it starts sloping in is generally where the tie line is. That's why we also refer to it as tapo slope. In general, those two should coincide, but the tie line is an imaginary line, the tapo slope is an existing line. So in the case of these properties that were platted back in 2008, correct? The tie line and tapo slope was supposed to coincide. They did not. The tapo slope began migrating further into the property as time went by, and in the subsequent 20 years, basically in some of them, quite a bit of land has been lost. For whatever's worth, this project has been under work for a good part of 4 years. We started having conversations. Mr. Seth Hasanas had our first meeting in March of 2020 under the shutdown. One of my first Zoom meetings.
Ever.
It was fun. The initial consideration of the developer was to get front setback variances for these homes, because the resulting lots were so narrow in depth that they couldn't really get all the stuff in there. And we advise against having the front setback variances, because that would reduce the area for parking. It would just be a lot less
Compatible
they're
with the.
maintaining the
other-
25-foot
correct.
setbacks.
So in order to be able to have their 25-foot setback in the front, we do need to rebuild the portion of the land that they need to have. And again, the initial idea, again, because the road to life is paved with initial ideas, was to just rebuild the tapo slope and then and rebuild the tapo slope to the tie line, right? So now that we're speaking correctly.
Right, so it would look
And
like
then
that plan.
slope naturally into the lake as it used to, but they have found that the soil doesn't have enough strength to hold that slope again, so it will continue to erode unless something else is done to sort of keep it in
Okay.
place. And that's why we're here.
And which of these lines here that are shown in the boundary topographical survey will be the actual location of the riprap? There's a dotted line, and then there's a hatched line with one space, and then there's a.
Can you go back to the section so we can show him?
Okay.
All right,
So you can see the platted top of bank.
It's
That's
vertical.
the vertical line.
Okay.
And you can see the current top of bank conditions in the hatch line.
Right.
I believe, Evan wanted to show me, so here you can also see the top of, let's see if I can give you a easier one there. You can see how the existing, property, what's in green is what needs to be filled. But the actual property line includes everything that is in water in this picture. So
Right.
we're still including water. The goal is not to just, fill everything that we can. It's just to make this as best as we can. And we recognize that as we move forward with the engineering, we will likely be coming more landward, right? We won't be going outward into the water. We're gonna be coming in landward.
So the riprap you're proposing to do would be a straight riprap across the whole property? Or is it gonna be flowing in and out per units? That's my question is.
Right. It's going to be the entire, for structural engineering purposes,
You're gonna
it's
do a
straight line.
riprap all the way across. That's what you're
Correct.
proposing to do, as
Correct.
opposed to the line that we have now.
Correct.
And that would
Because
be,
the line that we had in our plat was also straight.
well, I see a
Right.
straight line across that comes basically to halfway to the little Finger Lake there.
So what is in green is what is being filled.
Right. But at the end of the bulkhead will be straight.
Correct.
It won't have any curvature to it.
Correct.
Do you foresee the houses on the north side of 160th Terrace also needing this?
No. If not, we would have done it as part of this. I really hope.
Right,
not.
on the island, yeah.
He's talking about the island.
On the, northwest
Yes,
160th
yes,
Terrace, the
yes,
houses on the
yes.
north side of it
No.
that
no.
share the same waterway.
Correct. That is working well.
Okay.
Here, we had the issue with the front setback as
Right.
well, right? We just couldn't fit.
It's
And
because
we
of the
didn't want
sizes
to
of the
ask for
lots.
unnecessary variances. We thought that the board and the town would appreciate engineering.
Right. It's because of the sizes of the lots, I'm assuming.
And these face the street, so we want it to be compatible with the Royal Oaks neighborhood that surrounds it.
Got it.
Is there anticipated decking west waterward of this slope?
Sorry.
Right.
can you repeat
Waterward,
that?
no, condition two
Condition
provides
two,
for,
right.
that will have decking waterward of the reconstructed top of slope, so that's part of the plat line, right? And for that to be limited to 225 square feet.
Okay, so basically, and beyond this new constructed wall or whatever retaining bulkhead, they'll be able to go 225 feet.
No, this is regarding that little line that she's showing there. So,
What is shown as
we're not
elevation?
considering,
Oh, because
we're not
we're not gonna
changing- no,
match taupe.
No.
Okay,
We're
Right.
not
The-
changing the location of the tie line. We're just stabilizing the tie line. So
Correct.
that, so the location for it, for purposes of zoning, is still gonna remain in the same spot, which is why that note was put in there. There is still a little bit of, things that zoning allows you to do beyond the tie line, and they continue to be able to, avail themselves of those improvements if they need to, but obviously they would have to be within the requirements of town code.
Right, town staff has made clear we're not like double dipping or making up land or none of that
so
stuff.
just keep it compatible, I guess.
Yes,
That's the whole
absolutely. And that's why they suggested this variance instead of the setback variances.
concept. I agree.
Thank you. So we just want, back to the condition three, we just want to be clear on the record and with staff present that we'll just need to work together as to the location of the planting materials due to the, obviously, the structural engineering. But our intent is to provide that landscaping.
So regarding that section 3, I guess we could, since the bulkhead system is still not really designed,
I think we're fine with condition 3. I think it works, but we wanted to be clear on the record that it's no longer going to be a GeoWeb, most likely be a riprap, and we will be able to provide the native planting materials per the manufacturer's instructions that are still in process. We just wanted to be clear for the record.
But the bulkhead, just like we are putting there that the additional landscaping approved by planning and zoning, I would probably recommend that the bulkhead system be clearly, that bulkhead is gonna also be approved by planning and zoning or building or whoever is gonna approve of it to make sure that it's structural integrity and stuff like that, safe, all the other components.
I'm sure they would defer to the Public Works Department and the Building Department for structural review. Nothing gets past this town without planning and zoning. It is no longer the 1980s.
Good one.
Can you tell I grew
I
up
don't
here?
have I don't have further questions.
Neither do I.
I wish to ask about, because I know Mr. Cejas already has ideas about this. Because I did do some little research on the GeoWeb system, so that's why I was suggesting about the plantings. I'm not sure how the riprap works with plantings, and I'm curious about what that's gonna look like, right, from the perspective of whoever's on the water or beyond the water.
Sure. I guess we use the term riprap kind of in a general understanding, but it'll be some type of a littoral shelf with a proper soil condition that will both provide for a planting surface of aquatic plants, which will be for the areas that are submerged, as well as some upper plantings in the upland area, right? So imagine you have a sheet wall system and then a shelf that kind of starts to taper down, and then you have your water kind of right here, right? So we'll be able to plant all the way up. And I think we could provide a nice buffer with native plantings that can eventually grow from 4 to 5, 6 feet, create a nice screening. So from the houses across the lake, they won't see a retaining wall, right? It'll be a nice vegetative element, right, to screen all that behind.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. No more questions from me.
Thank you.
Yeah, close the public discussion.
I mean, I just would like, I have no problem in proposing the motion to approve. I just want to clarify the bulkhead situation to be, approved by whatever department is appropriate within the town.
Yeah, I'll second it for discussion. So we can discuss it.
Yeah.
My concern here is make sure that they do tie back so that we don't lose the structure that they're gonna do into the lake.
Right.
As I see, part of the lake is gonna be taken away from the lake that is there now. Part of the lake is gonna be taken away, and if we lose the structure back into the lake, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Right.
Right, and I just wanna make sure that they do some type of tieback so we don't have that problem. That it is put in the record that a tieback should be done, or needs to be done.
That would be an ultimate for them, but
For our approval, for our building department, that for them to understand that we need to make sure that there is a tieback. It's just not riprap laid along the edge, like I've seen done on many occasions, and then it falls
Over the
in,
years
during a really heavy rain. You know,
Right.
I've seen
Yeah,
it
look
go,
what happened now.
and we lose it into the lake, or we lose it into a canal, and that's my only concern there.
Is there currently a code within the town that says that the bulkhead has to be made of a certain material with a certain type of tieback?
No, you're free to
No.
engineer.
Right.
It's just approved by the building department. The building department can't tell you how to build it,
Right.
but they have to approve it.
Right.
So it has to be approved by the engineer that actually does the review, the reviewer
For the
that actually
town.
does that part of the
For the town.
plans.
So generally, these systems, and correct me if I'm wrong, they're already engineered to behave in a certain way, and they do come with their own specifications as per the manufacturer as to how they are to be installed in different conditions and in different circumstances. Obviously, Durham is gonna be involved, or South Florida, not South Florida Water Management District, because this is not, one of their canals, but definitely Durham is gonna be involved. Definitely our Public Works Department is gonna be involved in the permitting of this system. And, obviously, there will be, considerations as to the structural integrity of it at the time.
Yep.
But I can add a condition to that.
Yeah,
to that
'cause I don't
effect,
see
Because
it.
it doesn't hurt.
I don't see it in any of the paperwork where, anything
Correct.
that we have.
The reason is because the system that they were proposing at the time of I think they've changed the system. It used to be the GeoWeb system, which had one set of that I think they're considering a different system, which is the RipRap system. And that would also be, again, installed to manufacturers' conditions, yes.
Well, any system that they install, that's, completely up to the developer or the contractor that does it, but, and we can't see it, so that's why I'm making the,
Correct. I'll add that as one of the conditions.
one of the conditions.
Just have a call vote. There's no more things to recall vote.
Call the roll.
So item 5B, Planning and Zoning Board Member Julia made the motion, and it was seconded by Planning and Zoning Board Member De La Sierra. Board Member Julia.
Yes.
Board Member De La Sierra.
Yes?
Board Member Sanchez.
Yes.
Chairman Leoncio.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Well, yeah, see if we have any report by the, do we have a report?
We do have a little bit of a report. We're working on a new calendar for the new year. We are not meeting again until at least the new year.
Wow.
And, yes, elections, are making a mess out of our lives. So, between elections and holidays, there will be no meetings until the new year. And in the new year, we're looking at adjusting the week that we would be meeting. We may not meet the next year in the first Tuesday of the month. We may change it to a different Tuesday. We're sort of working with the council to see if they want to adjust their meeting date as well. And we will be notifying you of that and hopefully requesting your availability on that, okay? So tentatively for now, we're still tentatively scheduled for the first week of January, but we may amend that to a different Tuesday
Okay.
of the month.
I think the first Tuesday in January is the 7th.
Correct. It is.